Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Halloween, the 2007 version, starring Malcolm McDowell, Brad Dourif, Tyler Mane, G.B.M.H, forgive me if I said that wrong, Sheri Moon Zombie, and Scout Taylor Compton, and directed by Rob Zombie. Now, we're in the territory where I have seen this and next week's movie, which I will talk about next week. But I've seen this movie before in theaters, and I remember it being a little bit strange because I haven't seen a Halloween movie before. But now that I've seen the movies, let's compare this to the original. So let's get into this. At age 10, Michael Myers, played by G.B.M.H, lives with his mother Debbie, played by Sheri Moon Zombie, aka Rob's wife, and his abusive stepfather Ronnie, played by William Forsythe, who's like the biggest asshole ever. Why the fuck should I care? And his sister Judith is the biggest bitch in this whole movie, and Michael comes off like an asshole as well. I don't care for any of these characters, at least by far. A school bully named Wesley Rhodes, played by Daryl Sabara, who I know ironically from this series. And the scene when Michael whoops his dumbass in the forest, I felt like Rob Zombie was going way too far and making that sequence go on a bit too long. Like, Jesus Christ, Rob Zombie, that's enough for fuck's sakes. Debbie comes to the school because Michael says to the principal, "Fuck you," and that's what he says, that's not my word, and gets introduced to a psychologist named Dr. Samuel Loomis, played by, this time, Malcolm McDowell. And both he and the principal find a dead cat, which reminds me of what I heard in the news about some kid or kids that become serial killers, killing innocent animals like cats, dogs, or even squirrels. And I thought, what a fucking sick thing to do and to portray that in your fucking movie. This is a sick movie, folks. Just sick. Judith has sexual intercourse with her boyfriend, and while Michael goes out trick-or-treating on his own, which selfish move from that bitch. Meanwhile, Debbie goes to work stripping in a club. Now, my problem with that scene is she doesn't get naked. And that's because Rob Zombie doesn't want people getting the idea of seeing her naked. But still, show her as the fucking stripper. Michael kills Ronnie, which good fucking riddance. Then he kills Judith's boyfriend and Judith herself. Which, thank Christ, but doesn't kill baby sister Lori because she's innocent and Michael gets sentenced to jail. Once Debbie gets home and becomes a serial killer, Michael will be, we all know to this day, and honestly, this isn't going to be as good as the original. No point of view shots either. What a motherfucking joke. Dr. Loomis, who's played by Malcolm McDowell, here is a much better choice of Sam Loomis these days since Stalin's Pleasant's death, and he was a pretty damn good Dr. Loomis. Danny Trejo comes in as a janitor named Ismael Cruz, and I like his presence, but unfortunately isn't a very good performance. He just comes off just bland and one note. Typical Danny Trejo performance. Michael makes all the masks, or these masks, where he can hide his face, and Debbie doesn't approve and hands him a picture of him and his baby sister, Lori. And while Dr. Loomis takes Debbie to the car, the nurse who insults Michael about baby Lori is not related to him gets strangled for saying that shit in the first place. And Debbie commits suicide, which is the stupidest, laughable moment of the film, in my opinion. 15 years later, Michael, played by Tyler Mane, who I'll review in this movie. At some point when either Dark Phoenix or New Mutants come out, and let me just say this right now, he is a big motherfucker at 6'8". I mean, huge wrestler size. And believe it or not, Tyler Mane is a wrestler. And Dr. Loomis writes a book about him, but Tyler Mane gives the best performance of his career, better than what he did in X-Men, because of his body language, and that's impressive. That's all I need. Just body language. Michael escapes and kills 2 rapers who rape a woman because she's fresh meat, and I love how Michael kills one of the raper guards on the wall. Next thing you know, Danny Trejo, despite how much he was kind to Michael, and the sink full of water gets killed, which was brilliantly dumb, how finally he dies from Michael smashing him with the TV. Michael goes killing 1 trucker, and 1 dies while going number 2, and takes his clothes. Was kind of a fucked up scene and was badly shot in my mind. 55 minutes into this movie, we get introduced to Laurie Strode, this time played by Scout Taylor Compton. And let me tell you guys something. Scout Taylor Compton is no Jamie Lee Curtis, because she's fucking horrible here. Her constant screaming at the end of the movie, Jesus. She has no character and no charisma on screen whatsoever. All she does is just fucking scream. Laurie's friends Lindsay Wallace and Annie Brackett, who's played by Danielle Harris, which welcome back to Halloween, Danielle Harris, from parts 4 and 5, and I like her much better here than in Halloween 4 and 5. And who's her father is played by Chucky himself, Brad Dourif, and he's much better off playing a killer doll than a sheriff of Haddonfield, Illinois. It's Halloween night, and Lindsay with her boyfriend are having sexual intercourse in Michael's old house, and she'll ask her boyfriend to get her a beer. And Michael kills off Lindsay's boyfriend, and Michael goes to her to gets her beer, just like in the first movie, but done poorly. Dr. Loomis's performance starts to sour on me when he buys a gun at a store and acts like a dick about it. Laurie's step-parents get killed by Michael while Laurie babysits Tommy Doyle, and the actor who plays Tommy is very flat. Annie babysits a little girl, and her acting was bland as well. Laurie finds out Annie and her boyfriend, who's killed, was attacked by Michael, and Michael gets Laurie while Annie is all bloodied up on the ground at her house. And Tommy and the little girl hide with Laurie when the police arrive, and Michael kills off the 2 cops and takes Laurie back to the house they both lived in at one point, and left the 2 kids alone. Didn't make sense to me. Laurie wakes up at the house, and Michael at first doesn't attack because he shows a photo of them 15 years earlier. And Laurie suddenly attacks and goes to the pool, where Dr. Loomis tries to get Michael to the ground, and Laurie successfully does it. She screams, and that felt like a fucking horrible ending. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 4.8 out of 10. This is the dullest remakes ever, and this movie took way too long. I suggest cutting out at least 20 to 30 minutes out of the movie, and I would go back and rewatch the original, which I'm going to do before I see the new movie. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next week I will be back with Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie version. And until next time, trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat.